Welcome to the Journey to Wholeness, a podcast by I See My Baby Incorporated. Here, we dive deep into powerful stories of those who have overcome life's greatest challenges, stories of resilience, healing, and renewed faith. I'm Alicia Hurt, your host, and each week we'll speak to individuals who have transformed struggles with infertility, battles with depression, and crisis of faith into profound growth and purpose. Hello, everyone. It's Alicia Hurt. I am tuning in live at the Women's Wellness Center. So exciting here in Bainbridge, Georgia. But that's not why I'm here. I am here because I have a phenomenal guest from the Journey to Wholeness podcast. Her name is Stephanie, and she is here to really help us understand her journey and to be inspired and motivated. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello. Wow, what an intro. I got to bring that energy. Here we go. Let's go.
Yes, let's do it. Yes. So thank you so much for being here. I would love to start and just hear your story. What brought you here? What gave you interest in being a part of our podcast? I'm going to stop talking and let you just tell us.
All right. Well, my name is Stephanie Michelle, and I am here because I absolutely am so passionate about mental health and mental health awareness and helping people learn how to, I call it, dance with that negative voice in their head, because you never get rid of it. You're always kind of dealing with it in some way. And so it is my mission to really help people see it as not them, and then be able to take different choices in the moment because they know it's not them and they can choose. So my story is I grew up in an alcoholic family, which causes a lot of dysfunction. If you know trauma, then hello, welcome. And unfortunately, the disease did kill my dad. He took his own life when I was 16. And I had my own battle with addiction, even though it wasn't substance abuse, it was an eating disorder and unhealthy toxic relationships, and my own battle with that negative function inside, which is that suicidal ideation and depression and anxiety and just all of those things. And it's been quite a journey to get to a place where I feel really good in my body, being who I am authentically. And it's all because of my journey with acting and the arts, and then going full force into personal development. And so I'm here to really help people learn how to just be free from that voice that holds them back in the world.
Wow. Wow. What a story. Where do I start? So at 16, you had trauma. Talk us through that. A 16-year-old, that means you're just full-fledged into puberty, developing, trying to navigate, well, what's my next step as far as college? So talk to us. How was that?
Yeah, so that was more of I was in a daze most of those years. I was highly over medicated. So I was put on medication when I was 14. So 14 to 24, I was on a cocktail of pills, prescribed. However, they never got that right mix, because there are ways to get medication to really work for you. But for me, that was never the case. So I had tiny traumas throughout my childhood, and then the big trauma happened when my dad took his own life. So when I was 16, I basically, the 6 months before my dad passed away, I was actually hospitalized for my own mental health issues. So I was hospitalized for suicidal ideation and not feeling safe, and everyone being concerned. And 6 months later, my dad ended up taking his own life. And so from that point forward, for about 3 years, I was just numb. Like, I was just checked out. I wasn't present. I don't remember half of that time. Um, I had no like dating life whatsoever in high school and college. And it was just a lot of learning how to express and get back into my body. And that came through going to an acting conservatory for college, because all of the work that we did in school was actually playing with emotions and playing with releasing, all of those things based on characters. And so, because I had that experience of acting, I really got to get something that most people don't get, which is to really feel everything and to know how to do it safely and to know how to do it creatively and to let it move through me. And because I had that experience for the last 2 years of my college, I feel like that's when the healing journey really took off and really started.
So you talk about a healing journey. What does that mean? And what did it look like for you as it started to take off and started? Was it a aha moment like, ooh, this is something different?
Yeah, I think it became this fascination with the question, what inside of my dad made him take his own life? And why do some people do it and some people not do it? And that actually led me to start writing a play, which then turned into a now screenplay that's in pre-production to be a film. And the healing journey was just really getting curious about, what is it inside of
Right.
us that makes us not believe in ourselves, not believe in our value, our worth, who we are, why we're here, all of these things, and get up close and personal with it. So I would say my healing journey really took off when when I was 28 and I was on the edge of a cliff and I was ready to take my own life. And it was in that moment that I saw my mind is not me. I saw, all of those movies where the mind's like outside of them and it's like a break, kind of a mental break happens. I had that experience, and it was through that experience that I really understood on a visceral level that I am not my mind. My
Right.
mind can be saying the most horrific things, and I can choose not to believe it because I know it's not who I am.
Yeah.
And that's really where my journey got crystal clear of, this is the route I want to take. Is I want to take the route of being of service, of helping others realize that they are not that voice, and just constantly being given. I'm very spiritual, and so I believe that my path was just constantly showing me these signs and synchronicities of the next teacher, the next lesson, the next mentor, the next spiritual practice, like whatever it was that I needed in that moment came. And I mean, it's still a journey, and I've got a solid foundation that I'm walking on now. Whereas before it felt like, those video games where the floor is moving and you're jumping from one thing to another. Now it feels very solid because I do have a solid foundation in place with tools and with practices that help me stay really grounded and really present.
So for the individual that has that feeling that you had, especially when you were ready to just say, you know what,
Mhm.
that's it, it's over. What tools or practices would you recommend that they use?
The first one is really like, it's going to sound really silly, but naming that part of yourself a ridiculous name so that you can start to recognize when that part of yourself is talking to you, and see it, you're the observer, and since you're the observer, then you don't have to listen to it. But it's when you think you are that part of yourself that you have to listen to it. And so I would say the first step is to give it a ridiculous silly name. So mine is Razum, and I literally am just like, oh, okay, that's Razum talking. And then the second part is to really see it as protecting you from something that's scary and having compassion for that part of yourself. For me, every now and then I still do battle with suicide ideation, but I've flipped the meaning of it. I look at it more as a warning sign or a red flag that I am living out of integrity, out of alignment with who I really am. So it doesn't necessarily get to be scary and heavy. It's more like, okay, this is a red flag. This is a warning sign. Pause. Something in your life you're feeling trapped by, a victim to, whatever. Where can I take responsibility for my life?
Yeah.
So I would say the number one thing is just to start to name it and call it out, write down what it tells you, and realize that none of that's true.
Amen. And you did speak to being spiritual. Do you feel that that has a major impact on you identifying that what you're naming is not of a higher calling, a higher being of God?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I practice something every single morning. I chant every single morning to connect myself to that higher power, that spiritual, that spiritual energy. And it really allows me to see when it's the mind, the conditioned mind running amok versus my truth and my authentic voice and the highest voice within me. I believe it's really important to have something that really connects you to that energy and that source. And for me, it's chanting in the morning, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and just really getting solid in starting my day with that connection.
Right. And I want to thank you for being transparent because people tend to think that I'm fixed, I'm cured. And that's not always the case. Like it's a daily struggle, it's daily work, similar to a marriage. It's like, all right, I do. We're going to love each other forever. And then life happens, right? And it's like, no, you actually have to do the work. It's the same healing journey. You have to be intentional. You have to be aware. One of the practices you just shared with us is you meditate, you chant every day. So that helps you to be grounded, right? What would you say to an individual that thinks that it's like, oh, I'm fixed, I'm cured?
Well, actually, honestly, that's a great place to start, is that to believe there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. There's nothing to fix. Because once you start living in that way and with that belief, things start to shift because we're told, a lot of us, that we're broken, that there's something wrong with us, that we're, messed up to somewhat in some degree, and we're constantly looking for a way to fix it. But
Yeah.
what if you're perfect, whole, and complete exactly how you are right now, and there's just ways to become even better or even, more connected to who you really are? For me, it became a mindset switch of I'm broken and I need to fix something to I'm good. Now I'm just curious and I want to go even further. So that switch alone has been a game changer for how I show up in the world, as well as taking a lot of, there's a reason to have labels, like, saying you're depressed and saying you have anxiety and all these things. But there's also a freedom that comes when you let those just be experiences and transitory. So instead of saying I am depressed, I actually am going through this right now because I am moving through something. Instead of saying I am depressed, I say I am experiencing depression. That feels more transient, that you can move. But if you're like, I am depressed, you're holding on to that identity. So you're going to keep the identity of depression. So that's another tool I use, is just my language and vocabulary around I have anxiety or I am experiencing anxiety. So it keeps it less intense for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. In the word, it talks about the power of your tongue. It talks about the power of your words. Like this life in what you say. Also, my oldest wrote a book, and it was "My Words and Thoughts Have Power," and that's what came to mind when you were talking. Because there are times where I'll say, "Oh, I don't have the money. Oh, I'm broke," and then I'll be reminded, "No, don't say that." Because if you say that, then you will always lack. You will not have. So what you're saying really makes sense, right? So if
Yeah.
you feel anxiety, if you feel depression, you say, and you just say, hey, like I'm in alcoholism, and say, "Hi, my name is Alicia, and I'm alcoholic." It's like, okay, I hear you, but I'm experiencing concerns with alcoholism, instead of, hey, because you're giving that thing power over you.
Mhm.
So I completely agree with what you're saying. Like the phrases, the way that you empower yourself or empower that thing, it really makes a difference on your healing journey. What other ways have you worked through your traumas and your experiences that is leading you to wholeness?
Yeah, so there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it talks about how your body holds on to everything. And so one of my biggest practices in healing modalities is actually ecstatic dance. It's a practice of going in once a week for 2 hours with a different playlist every Sunday and just moving my body however it wants to move. I mean, it's not choreographed, it's not pretty, it's a lot of times really weird and out there, but my body knows how it needs to move the energy and break up the energy. So I can have a fit of rage and express it fully, or I could have a really sad moment and express it fully. Lots of joy as well. And so for me, the practice of shaking my hips, getting into my body, moving it is something that has really helped me on my healing journey, because a lot of what I teach is that we're all, not everyone, but a lot of people are connected from their head up. Like they're not dropped into their heart, they're not dropped into their body. And so just to like put on some music that you enjoy and moving your body will bring so much joy and pleasure. And that's really what life is about, is an enjoyment, and it's experiencing, pleasure and being in this vessel that we're here to do stuff with.
So you were talking and I was getting giddy inside because I had 2 left feet. Now I'm Caribbean, so I know how to whine and carry on. But to say, all right, we're doing a 2-step, all right, we're doing a shuffle. All right. So what you're saying I can do.
Yeah.
Put the music on and let your body just be free, right?
Exactly. And a lot of people, what the practices of ecstatic dance is like, the judgment starts to come up because your mind is very active. And so it's a meditation at the same time where it's like, let that voice go. You're going to move your elbow however you want to, your hips however you want to, and just notice when that voice comes up. And when you do it in a group with a group of people, you will notice that you start judging other people and just have to constantly check yourself, like, get back into the body. How do I want to move? It doesn't have to look pretty. And you shake up and release so much of that stuck energy that you feel a lot lighter afterwards.
Yeah, you're right. All right. So I got to get myself going. So you talked about early on that during your adolescent years, you did take medication. Share with us, do you feel like that it's necessary? Do you feel like you should do it without medication? What advice would you give someone that's going through trauma?
First off, always work with professionals. If you want to be on medication, work with professionals. If you want to be off medication, work with professionals. For me, I go back and forth with this answer because I honestly don't know the answer of, with everything I was going through, did the medication help me or did it hurt me? I don't know. There's a part of me that feels like it numbed me out so much that I'm kind of delayed in my growth simply because I wasn't there for a decade. So I'm like playing catch up. And then there's another part of me that's like, well, who knows what could have happened if you weren't on it. So I have like two sides of the same coin. My personal belief is that I was so blessed to have acting that I went into that gave me tools and practices of how to be present and in my body that most people do not even get to experience. And because of those things, I have the ability to be like, I don't need this medication because I feel safe in my body. I know how to be with these big emotions. I know how to, navigate these worlds. And so it took me about 6 months to get off of all of my medication, but I did it with a doctor. I did it very strategically. The withdrawal was not fun. It was a very tedious process. And I'm glad I'm no longer on them. I've been off of them for over a decade. And I feel like because I had the practices through acting, I got an experience that most people don't get. So if you have grounding practices, if you have meditation practices, if you have ways of being in the body, then I feel like you're okay, and always have a professional.
Yeah, I agree. You hear that? Have a professional. Don't self-medicate. Don't go on Google and YouTube and try to figure it out. Take your health, take your mental health seriously, and with a practitioner. I love the fact that you said, hey, I don't know. And that's the truth. Everyone's journey is different. Some people need it, some people don't. Don't judge yourself, don't judge other people. Everybody's walk is different. So let's get into it. Can you tell us more about your coaching, more about what you offer individuals? Because I know they're wondering. You kind of glazed over the fact that you're going to be a filmmaker. You kind of glazed over that. Like, so tell us more about it. Tell us more about what you do to support others.
Yeah, so I help people realize where their patterns are coming up, their mind comes up to hold them back, and we work through on breaking through that. And so basically what I've come to learn through my own journey of creating a film, of, being a speaker, all of these things, um, is that when you're on the cusp of breakthrough, things get really challenging and
Yeah.
more intense than you're expecting. And what
Amen.
and what I help my clients see is like that's actually good, right? Because that's all the stuff coming to the surface for you to look at, for you to transform, to change so you can break through to the next level. And that's what I really help the people I work with. One of them is auditioning for a big Broadway show. She's auditioning for a really awesome role in a Broadway show. And all of her stuff, is coming up, all that self-doubt, all of that not good enough. And just really learning how to catch it and giving you tools and practices to work through it so that you can go to the next level. And it's just really about feeling safe and grounded in the body and learning how to regulate your nervous system so you can do hard things.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Just
You
get
made it
really,
simple.
yeah,
You made it
just
simple, but
just get
it's
really,
complex work.
yeah, just get really comfortable with being uncomfortable and you're good.
Yeah. 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 So, question,
Yeah.
community, because one of the affirmations and the words that we use here at I See My Baby is that you're not alone. Do
Mm,
you feel like community and having a sense of community helped you in your journey?
absolutely. So the whole, I guess, disease of alcoholism and addiction and all of those things is really about not feeling like you belong and having community and finding people who you birds of a feather, flock together kind of thing. Finding your tribe is really, really important. And it's one of my elements. And I have a system called the mental system that I've created. And I can go through that with you guys. But one of the things is togetherness and always really finding a way to not self isolate because that's when the loneliness gets really intense and heavy. So if you're able to step out into the world, sometimes it can be scary, but start to find people who you resonate with and build those friendships and build that community. And I have an incredible community that I've gotten to run with for several years now. And because of that, my mental health has definitely gotten better.
Yeah. Do you think there needs to be some type of dating phase or interview phase for your community to ensure that they're helping you to be better and not hindering your journey to wholeness?
Yeah, I think that comes down with aligning with values and beliefs and, seeing how they show up. If they inspire you, that the way I
Yeah.
look at it is the people that I'm surrounded by really inspire me. And they really I feel like they're playing tennis at a really elite level. And I'm a beginner, but I want to be at the elite level. So I want to keep
Yeah.
playing tennis with them.
Yeah.
Um, it's about finding people who inspire you, who pour into you. You don't need people to tear you down, obviously.
Right.
Um, and it's challenging if you've grown up in a world where you're not used to that. It's
Right.
challenging, especially if you don't talk to yourself with kindness, then you
Right.
don't realize that it's not okay for other people, not to talk to you like that. So I would say it's really about finding people that inspire you. That would be the first thing, because if they light something up in you, they have something you want, they can show you how to get it.
I like how you use the analogy of the tennis, like someone that's above and beyond or what you're striving towards. Because a lot of times, if you're with individuals that you're pulling up, it actually weighs on you and it
Mhm.
hinders you because sometimes, like you see on movies, you're like, oh my God, Sally is about to drop down on the rocks off of the cliff, and Joe is trying to hold her up, but Joe doesn't have the strength. Sometimes it's like that. You know, if you don't have that right sense of community around you, you find yourself always the person trying to grab them off of the cliff when you're like, well, listen, I'm halfway off the cliff myself. So I completely agree with what you said.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for me. I've gotten really intentional about who I keep, in my circle, my inner circle, and the people I hang out with outside because I I mean, you get really clear about, are these people helping me grow? Like
Right.
that's really the answer. The question is like, are these people helping me grow? And everything in your environment is a reflection of your inner world.
Yeah,
So if it's kind of murky and not feeling too good, then there's stuff inside that you get to clean up too.
that's right. So if we have folks that are like, oh, Stephanie, I got stuff I need to clean up. I have a story similar to yours. I really resonate with you. How can they reach out to you?
They can DM me on Instagram. We'll start there. So you can go to Instagram, you can DM me at The Journey of Bloom. My film, you can go to the website. My website is thefilmbloom.com. I'm sure you'll have all this in the show notes. And
Yes.
then and there's a place on the website that says work with me. And so you can work with me as I can be a coach, or if you want to be a producer as well, jump on board of the project that I'm working on, see the project I'm working on, and speaker. So if you wanted me to come and speak and share my story, then I'm happy to do that as well.
Awesome. So for those that are like, ooh, I don't want to do virtual, where are you located that they can reach out to you or?
Yeah, so I reside in Austin and Houston. So I'm splitting time between Houston and Austin, Texas. And yeah, we can find, if you want to do it in person, then they can just once again DM me and
Right.
we'll set something up.
So jump in her DM. Y'all hear that? Jump in her DM.
You have permission.
So, Stephanie, we're wrapping up, and I always ask, what is one message that you're like, if you didn't hear anything that I said during this interview, this is what I want you to take away?
Mm. Your thoughts are not real. This is not real. That was like the phrase that saved my life. I didn't get too much into that story, but basically recognizing that you are so much bigger, so much greater than that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough. Um, yeah, I think that would be it. And it's going to tell you that, you need to be by yourself or you're alone. I think that's the scariest part, is when it tells you that you're all alone and you're the only person that's ever gone through this. It's really about reminding yourself that so many people are in the same boat. So many people are struggling. This is the human condition. And do the opposite of what it's telling you to do. So like if it's telling you just go, be by yourself, self-isolate, call a friend, reach out, help someone else out.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Stephanie. I
Thank
look forward to
you.
you coming back again.
Yeah, absolutely. That was so great. I would love to come back. There's so much more to share.
Yes. All right, you guys, thank you for tuning in. And until next time on the journey to wholeness.
Woo woo.